Supervisor Church will attend remotely via Just Cause. And Supervisor Church, if you could provide a brief explanation as to why you can't attend in person and identify anyone with you.
Sure. Yes, I had an accident with my leg, which is temporarily limiting my mobility.
Thank you. And is anybody in the room with you?
At the moment, my wife is, but she will be leaving forthwith.
Okay, and just her name for the record?
Kathy McKenzie.
Okay, and no vote is required.
Thank you, County Council. Now we'll...
Yes, good morning. Let the record reflect all supervisors are present, with Supervisor Church appearing via video conference and Supervisor Lopez joining us shortly.
now, any additions or corrections by County Council?
No, Chair.
Yeah. Yes, Christian Snyder.
Hi, can you hear me? Hello?
We can
so
hear you.
your AV is completely off. You can't hear anything from the Zoom meeting. So I just heard the young lady who just spoke, but no one's coming from the dais. You can't hear anything.
We can hear
you. Guys
you.
want? We can hear you though. Okay, nobody can hear you. That's what I'm trying to say. For a public meeting, the public can't hear you.
Are you able to hear me, Christian?
I am. I don't know who's speaking though. Hello?
Thank you. I just turned my mic on and you can hear me. It's Supervisor Adams. Thank you.
I appreciate Supervisor Adams. Yeah, no, we're getting a lot of feedback from Supervisor Alejo and I believe that's Susan Blitch. Just so you guys know, the public can't hear. Okay, do you want to start the timer? As long as you can hear me.
We can hear you.
Okay, great. Good morning. So I've sent over some items to your clerk of the board. I hope the Board of Supervisors will get a chance to review them. Sorry, I'm spoon feeding this to you, but I want it to be digestible. You know, I had a great breakthrough in therapy about 2 weeks ago, and it deals with you guys. It really helped me gain clarity and sort of focus on what's been going on. And, you know, I'm thankful for that. So I've been having to come here and essentially thinking that you'll be empathetic or that you'll be ethical. I could tell you about the pain in my life, the damage that was caused. I thought maybe you just didn't think I was hurt or something. You didn't understand the havoc that you've wreaked. Or the damage you've done to myself or my family. I thought maybe you didn't understand the ethical concerns. That you didn't actually understand the case and what's in front of you and the actions of your county council. So I understand now. I do. I understand that no matter what, you're going to fight me to hide what you did, to obstruct every single way, whether legal or not, you're still going to do it. So I received a bill last night for $66,000 approximately from the county, essentially hiding that you knew who was sending anonymous emails from the sheriff's office that was threatening people. And I'd like to know how we're still not in a lawsuit with each other.
Thank you very much. That's your time. Is there anyone else online? Give it another second.
Okay.
Seeing no other speakers, then we're going to recess for closed session, and we will reconvene at 10:30 a.m. Thank you.
Testing mic one, mic one. Yeah, that sounds pretty good right now. Okay.
Is here, uh, whichever you prefer.
This is mic three, mic three.
Do you want to test a lectern mic? Lectern mic? I think it sounds fine. Okay. And listen to it? Okay. It's a little tinny, isn't it?
It sounds like it's being fed back into it.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure where in the chain. John asked me to move one of the video feeds with audio. So I don't know if that's going back into itself or not.
So, out of your speaker, I sound okay? Testing, testing.
I'm hearing you from like.
Oh. You're not hearing me from. Test one, test two, test one, test two. Okay.
It sounds fine.
Okay, I think so.
1, 2.
Mic check, mic check.
Mike, Mike, Mike. Yeah, that's Lopez. Mic check, Glenn Church.
Mic check, mic check. Mic check, mic check. Mic check, mic check. Mic check, mic check. Mic check, mic check.
Mic.
Yeah. Mic check, mic check.
1 2 1 2. Oh, this one does. So we're moving
Mic check,
council
mic
here?
check, mic check.
Testing, testing, 1 2. Testing, testing. Sounds good.
Mic check, mic check.
All right, this is Chair Mike, Chair Mike.
Mic check, mic check.
Mic check, mic check. I'm talking into the microphone and I am seeing levels. Okay, so I'm currently checking the top right monitor for audio levels, and I see that. And now I am checking the mid of the rack and seeing my audio levels there as well.
Mic 1, mic 1. Mic 1, mic 1.
Lectern mic, lectern mic.
Mic 3, mic 3.
ADA mic, ADA mic.
Mic 5, mic 5.
Staff right, staff right.
Mic 6, mic 6.
And staff left, staff left.
Mic 8, mic 8. Mic 10, mic 10. Mic 12, mic 12.
Clerk mic, clerk mic. This is wireless one test.
the Monterey County Board of Supervisors meeting. Before we do roll call, we're going to do an announcement of just cause, remote participation from our county council.
Thank you, Chair. Pursuant to AB 2449, Supervisor Church will attend remotely via Just Cause. Supervisor Church, can you provide a brief explanation as to why you can't attend in person and whether anyone is in the room where you are now?
Yes, I injured my leg and it has temporarily impacted my mobility, and nobody is present with me.
Thank you, and there's no vote required on this.
Thank you very much. Hope you get better, Supervisor Church. Now we'll call for the roll call.
Yes, good morning. Let the record reflect all supervisors are present, with Supervisor Church appearing via video conference.
And next we'll go ask for an announcement from our Spanish interpreter, Diego Celis.
Muy buenos días, mi nombre es Diego Celis, eres intérprete español-inglés, inglés-español para la reunión de hoy. Si está planeando hacer un comentario y necesita servicio de intérprete, por favor, hablar lenta y suficientemente fuerte para que yo lo escuche. Por favor, hacer una pausa al final de sus oraciones para asegurarse de que tengo la oportunidad de interpretarle. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much, Diego. Now we will go to the Pledge of Allegiance, and we'll ask Supervisor Chris Lopez, since it was his birthday last weekend, to lead us in the pledge. If we could all rise, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And happy birthday. All right, any additions or corrections by the clerk?
There's an addition to the Monterey Salinas Transit District presentation, and that was a PowerPoint was received. And for item number 9, under scheduled matters, additional attachments were received.
Great. We will now go to ceremonial resolutions. There's 3 on here today. Only one will be presented, but this is the time for, first of all, I want to ask if there's any comments or you want to pull any of these, and then I'll go to the public for comments on the resolutions.
I would like to pull item number 2 for a separate vote, please.
Okay, perfect. We'll pull that for a separate vote. There's 2 other resolutions. This is a time for the public to comment on any of the items for ceremonial resolutions, items 2, 3, or 4 on the agenda.
Good morning. My name's Eloise Shim. I want to comment on resolution number 2. I want to say that also in Palestine, there have been a lot of protests against the action in Israel, and a lot of groups in Washington, D.C. are calling for ceasefire. Jewish people calling for ceasefire, saying not in my name. More children have been killed in Palestine in the last week than in the last year in the Ukraine. In Springfield, Illinois, because of President Biden's propagating lies and the media propagating lies about Hamas atrocity, a landlord stabbed and killed a 6-year-old Palestinian boy, Waed Yacob, and stabbed his mother. She's in critical condition. The landlord was killing them because they were Muslims, which is a hate crime.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I would also like to comment on the same resolution. Ladies and gentlemen of the Board of Supervisors, I'd like to address Mr. Alejo's one-sided, historically selective ceremonial resolution and his misguided, unwavering support of Israel and their current actions in Gaza. But first, before I get into that, I want to make sure nobody labels me anti-Semitic. Anti-Semitism is a term that is cliche and used by Zionists, not real Jewish people, to shut down anyone who does not agree with their agenda and to cover up their crimes against the Palestinians. By definition, Semites not only include Jews, but Arabs and Assyrians as well. I believe in the messages of the prophets Abraham, Moses, David, Solomon, and Jesus, who are all Semites. Zionism is a racist ideology and is not rooted in real Judaism. Theodore Herzl, the founder of Zionism, was an atheist. Joe Biden, our president, is a self-professed Zionist. I do not support Hamas or their actions, and they do not represent the 2 million people who live in Gaza, which include the Palestinian Muslims and Christians. I have been a resident of Monterey County for over 20 years, and most of the years I've been in Salinas, I'm unapologetically a Muslim and a Palestinian American. My maternal grandparents fled the ethnic cleansing in Palestine in 1948. My father barely escaped with the shirt on his back during the 1967 war, which was started by Israel. My in-laws were forced to walk on foot to the Lebanese border and by Zionist gangs that were massacring Palestinian villages and depopulating them and ethnic cleansing them. So this whole thing that's going on, Mr. Alejo, it did not magically just start last week with the Hamas attack. It's been festering for the last 16 years in Gaza, with the Palestinians being bottled up in the largest, most densely populated open-air prison on the face of this earth, surrounded on all sides, including the ocean. It has been branded into the hearts of the Palestinian people for 75 years.
Thank you, sir.
I'm not done, sir.
Yeah, that's your time, though.
Okay, well, please, hopefully, instead of pandering to pro-Zionist lobbies and furthering your political career, you'll do the right thing and worry about things in this community. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
I'm Catherine Crockett, and today I'm representing the Monterey Peace and Justice Center Board of Directors regarding Resolution Number 2. We strongly condemn the October 7th brutal attacks by Hamas on Israeli civilians. We likewise denounce Israel's counterattacks resulting in massive civilian casualties. The violence has already claimed many innocent lives and caused immense suffering. The forced evacuation of Palestinians in North Gaza amidst missile bombardments has had dire humanitarian consequences. It is important to recognize that the majority of Palestinian citizens and Muslims cannot be held responsible for or accountable for the actions of Hamas, just as Israeli citizens and Jews cannot be held responsible for the actions of the Israeli security forces. President Biden expressed this to the world community when he stated, "We must not lose sight of the fact that the overwhelming majority of Palestinians had nothing to do with Hamas's appalling attacks and are suffering as a result of them." Gaza has faced decades of occupation, illegal settlement, and a 16-year economic blockade, leading to severe conditions and creating what has been described as an open-air prison and an apartheid state for Palestinians. Israel's call for a complete blockade promises to worsen the humanitarian crisis. While Israel has the right to self-defense, it must operate within the bounds of international humanitarian law. The unprecedented level of force mobilized for the impending ground offensive in Gaza, which is a 140-square-mile strip of land, and the offensive supported by the United States and Western nations, exposes this asymmetry of the Palestinian conflict. We believe that installing the Israeli flag here in the Board of Supervisor chambers would have a polarizing effect that would fuel anti-Muslim sentiment and endanger our Palestinian and Muslim community members. We urge you to vote against this resolution.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else?
My name is McGregor Eddy. My father was the son of William Eddy, who was the ambassador. He served in North Africa. He lived in Lebanon, Egypt, all of his life, and he taught us many deep things, and we knew about the Palestinians when we were children. Right now in Palestine, the water was off, and that was declared a humanitarian emergency, and the water was turned back on. But with no electricity, The filtering systems are not working, so the water is not on. We're not even talking about death from bombs or death from battle. We're talking about death from thirst in an area that was already very short of water. This is an emergency. I suggest you wait a week, because I think in the next week, Israel will be regarded as a war criminal for the deaths of Palestinian, mostly children, who suffer first from lack of water. There is no water in Gaza. This is a humanitarian emergency that is being declared. And I think you are premature. And I think you should wait to see what happens, because in the next week, water, we have a rule of 3 in medicine. You can go 3 minutes without air, 3 days without water, and 3 weeks without food. In 3 days, don't do this. At least wait. Have you looked into the situation? Have you read what Jewish Voice for Peace has to say? Have you read this statement just read? Many people put a lot of thought into that statement. It was not casually made. It's people who live here and care deeply for you and work on your campaigns. So I will remember the vote you take today. I request that you postpone it and do some more research. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
If I make comments now, would that mean I could not make comments later in regards to the meeting here?
This is on just the resolutions. There will be the portion for comments for items not on today's agenda, so you will still have that opportunity.
Thank you. I'd like to make some comments. I was a Foreign Service officer with my family in Lebanon in 1967. The family was evacuated for a couple of weeks after the start of the war, and nothing has changed, in my opinion, since those days serving at the embassy. Nothing has changed since 1967 until today. The poor Palestinians that were separated at the border in Lebanon ended up in ghettos in Beirut. No sanitation, no education. So the Muslims treated the Muslims like any other imposter kind of people. The whole problem is settled on religion. Religion has gotten into our history to the point that humanity is a mess. And it's because of religion. And there's no answer to it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else in chambers? Then we'll go to those online. Thank you.
I'm going to continue the last part of my Palestinian Brothers statement. For those of you that vote in favor of the ceremonial resolution, then you by default support the following. The use of white phosphorus shells and cluster bombs, which are banned by international law on heavily populated civilian areas. The forced depopulation of an area with 1 million people in it and attacking those people fleeing on a route that the Israeli military specified for them. Completely cutting off basic necessities to 2 million non-combatants, basic necessities that were cut on and off for the last 16 years. This is called collective punishment and is against international law. Israeli rhetoric referring to Palestinians as animals. The institutionalized theft of Palestinian land and the creation of Israeli settlements in the pre-1967 West Bank boundaries, again a violation of international law. Palestinian children under 18, some as young as 12 years old, in indefinite administrative detention, the violation of the agreement with the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan to maintain the status quo of the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound. Most importantly, the possible implications of your resolution were clearly not thought out and are dangerous. Even though this was not an attack on America, Muslims and Arabs are starting to feel it, even locally. A 13-year-old Palestinian girl was physically attacked by a grown man who disagreed with her writing Free Gaza on a sand dune. A 6-year-old Palestinian boy was stabbed over 20 times to death by a landlord, and his mother critically injured over these current events. Girls and women wearing hijab have been verbally abused. There are thousands of Arabs and Muslims that live in Monterey County whom you have automatically marginalized and dismissed with your resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in chambers? See no one else come forward, then we'll go to those online.
Esther Malkin.
Good afternoon. I wanted to remind everybody that the Israel is the only democracy in the region, and that's why the United States supports them and backs them. I also want to remind everybody about the Holocaust, which is exactly what is happening all over again, and we've seen the beginnings of that. There have been a significant rise on the of attacks on the Jewish community over the last couple of decades, and especially in the last couple since the Trump administration basically unleashed all the anti-Semitic groups that part of them were the ones that stormed the Capitol on January 6th. So we've got to put things in perspective. While absolutely nobody wants to see any bloodshed on either side, Hamas's rhetoric is that their purpose is to eliminate the whole state of Israel and Jews off the face of the earth. Faced with that kind of mission, I don't really understand how anybody who's only seeing this as a one side versus the other side can be okay with that and expect Israel not to defend itself. Unfortunately, the people of Palestine have been put in positions of danger by Hamas, and Hamas knew that this was going to happen when they went in and massacred the people that were living on the border, which I would like to say my family lived very close to that area, and they were in significant danger. So for everybody who is talking about making this, a one-sided issue, imagine if on American soil, 50,000 Americans were killed, which is the equivalent by proportion to the population of Israel. I seriously don't believe that anybody would expect Israel not to retaliate. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else online?
Christian Snyder.
Hi, I'm also speaking on Resolution 2. I want to agree with a lot of people's statements here. A lot of people don't know this because of my first name, but I'm actually half Ashkenazi. And there was a data breach like a week ago or something with 23andMe where they took all of the people, or they targeted whoever hacked them. They targeted Ashkenazis and took all their relatives and uploaded it on the dark web. So anti-Semitism is real. Absolutely. It's on the rise. But what you're doing here is, honestly, in my opinion, Supervisor Alejo, is trying to get a delegate position by sticking the Israeli flag into a local government. You really have no position. You have no education. You have no right to even form an opinion on the human atrocities that are going on over there. It is shameful. It is a political plug. And the fact that you put the flag up before even taking a vote, you go against the will of the people. You didn't even ask. You do not speak for everyone in Monterey County. They're not there to be your political tools so you can take this issue and cause banter or wave it around or go post it on Twitter. Look at what I did and show it to all your friends. It's shameful. People are dying unjustly. Children are unjustly dying. And you think, hey, we should take sides on this. There are no sides on this. There is no position of, yeah, let's allow this.
Thank you very much. Go to the next person online.
Sue Paris.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to express my appreciation to Supervisor Alejo and all of the board for recognizing that we are connected to all the world's people and that we are impacted by war and human suffering, regardless of it occurring far from where we live. I join with you in condemning the atrocity committed by Hamas against innocent Israeli children, women, and men. I grieve for those lives lost and for their families and communities, and for Jews all over the world who are experiencing increased fear. I also ask that you remember that Palestinian lives are no less precious. We need to work against anti-Semitism and Islamophobia wherever they occur. And I hope you will consider amending this resolution to support safety and peace for both Israelis and Palestinians. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next person.
Phone number ending in 705.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Only love will save the world. And until the Jewish people and the Palestinian people follow God's law, the wars will continue. And the needless killing of ourselves will continue. So please remember, in every deliberation you make, in every action, we must make sure we include the law of love, no matter how difficult it seems. So if this resolution is taking sides, I ask you, please, only use the law of love. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next person.
There are no more hands raised.
We'll do one more call for any members of the public that would like to speak on this item before we close public comment.
705 has, oh, she took it down.
Okay, then we will close public comment. We'll bring this back for deliberations from the board. We do have items 3 and 4 as well. Do you want to just take a separate vote on those, and then we could focus our discussion on resolution number 2?
I move items 3 and 4.
Okay, those are items 3 and 4, National Community Planning Month, and also the Adelante con Orgullo Mujer Inmigrante. So there's been a motion by Lopez, seconded by Askew. All those in, we need to do roll call because we have one of our colleagues on Zoom.
Supervisor Church?
Aye.
Supervisor Lopez?
Aye.
Supervisor Askew? Supervisor Adams? And Chair Supervisor Alejo.
Aye. Great. Now we're going to just focus on resolution number 2. And I have invited Cantor Margaret Bruner to make some comments as well. But as the author of this resolution and the author of the resolution also in support of our ally Ukraine, and that also resulted in the flag being installed in this chamber, I just want to make some comments before we open it up for my colleagues for further discussion. But this resolution reads in part that on October 7th, 2023, Hamas terrorists launched a massive and unprovoked war on Israel by air, land, and sea, including firing thousands of rockets. We have since seen the worst brutality, depravity, and slaughter of Israeli children, young people, seniors, people of all ages. Among those dead are now 30 fellow Americans, and those numbers continue to rise each day. At least 199 people have been kidnapped and are being held as hostages by Hamas. These horrendous and heinous acts of terrorism must be condemned in every corner of our nation and throughout the world. And this resolution before us today is very similar, almost exactly similar, to the bipartisan House Resolution 771 by the U.S. House of Representatives that now has 424 co-authors out of 435 members of the House. And that includes our own local Congress members, Zoe Lofgren and Jimmy Panetta, who have signed on as co-authors to this resolution. That is 97% of Congress members signing on to this resolution. This resolution expresses our solidarity with Israel and affirms its right to defend itself against heinous terrorist attacks by Hamas and other terrorists. It condemns the brutal violent attacks and slaughter of innocent civilians and urges Hamas to immediately release all hostages. This resolution also states that as we support Israel's right to defend itself against terror, we also call for just and lasting peace for Israelis and Palestinians alike. And as an act of solidarity, it also calls to keep this flag of Israel here in our chambers until this war ends. And we hope that it does end soon. Similar action to what we took at the beginning of Russia's attack against the people of Ukraine. It is imperative that we stand with our critical ally of Israel during this time when they are under attack by terrorists and prevent the expansion of this war to other fronts by Hezbollah, Iran, and others who would create even more devastation, regional catastrophe in the Middle East. Today, we are honored to have Margaret Bruner of Temple Bethel here in Salinas as well. But I will open it up. I'll invite Cantor Bruner, if you want to say some words now, or you want to wait till after. Okay. Then I'll open this up for my colleagues to make some comments on this resolution, and we'll start with Supervisor Askew.
Thank you. I'm going to read my comments because I don't want to misspeak on something as important as this. I am heartbroken watching the conflict in Israel and Gaza escalate over the past week. I'm heartbroken talking to my child about it, what's happening. The brutal, barbaric acts committed by Hamas against innocent Israeli people is unthinkable. The loss of life and tragic suffering in Gaza, where half of the 2 million people living are children, is also horrific. To be clear, I stand firmly against all acts of violence committed against innocent people, be they in Israel or in Gaza. The rising tide of anti-Semitism poses a very real threat to Jewish people around the world, and we collectively must be unwavering in our commitment to their protection and their well-being. To be, again, very clear, hatred and discrimination against any group, including our Jewish community, has no place in this world and no place in Monterey County. I stand resolutely against the acts of terror perpetrated by Hamas against Israelis. I've spent the last week trying to educate myself enough to weigh in on this issue and to use my voice to speak out for the safety and well-being of all of my constituents. Here in Monterey County, we have a very diverse community, including Jewish, Muslim, and Palestinian constituents. We have welcomed many refugees from the Middle East here to live and work as our neighbors, to attend school with our children. I've spent hours this weekend personally reaching out to check on my neighbors who are directly impacted by this terror, and the trauma they are experiencing right now is devastating. I understand that the resolution before us was drafted by the U.S. House of Representatives, yet today, as I sit here, I'm struggling to reconcile a position of standing unequivocally with Israel with the conversations that I've had with my neighbors who are Palestinian refugees, the messages that I've heard over the years at my loved ones' bar mitzvahs, or the news about the Palestinian girls in Sand City being attacked. It feels irresponsible of me to weigh in without fully acknowledging the historical context of the region, which would require far more study than a ceremonial resolution allows for. Given what I currently know to be true, which is evolving on an hour-by-hour basis, I cannot support this action, which feels like it ultimately uses the loss of Israeli lives to justify a genocide of Gaza. Our call to action must focus on reducing humanitarian suffering and protecting innocent people. Targeting innocent civilians, even in war, is a violation of international law, no matter who does it. The restriction of food, water, electricity, and other necessities to Gaza exacerbates a humanitarian crisis that will continue to harm innocent civilians. And as the United States supports Israel in responding to Hamas's attack, we must also insist on restraint from Israeli forces attacking Gaza and insist on the delivery of humanitarian aid where it is needed. As drafted, this resolution fails to prioritize the protection of innocent lives and demand international efforts aimed at de-escalation, and I won't be able to support it today. I want to ask my colleagues, if you're willing, that we take no action on this item today. And I want to urge everyone in my community, anyone who's listening today, to stand with me against anti-Semitism, against Islamophobia, and to reach out to your loved ones, to your neighbors who are hurting right now. Ask them what you can do to help support them. Thank you. Those are my comments.
Thank you. We'll go to other colleagues. Supervisor Lopez.
Yeah, this isn't a new issue. I know a lot of folks are trying to learn it just because it's hit the press recently, but for me, it's something that I studied deeply. And when I spent my time at university and watching what's happening now, going back and as a student of somebody who's tried to understand even before the Bible was written what this region, the Verdant Crescent, the Green Crescent, has meant to the world as one of the first metropolises, and obviously drawing a lot of people from different regions to it. This is just the latest issue, unfortunately, in this region, and I don't think that this will be the last, given the generations, thousands of years of history of this particular region, which has been marred by violence. But given the actual content of this resolution, I am prepared to support it today. This speaks to a terrorist organization called Hamas, and what they did in the last shot, and I get that folks feel that it was antagonized, and perhaps it's the word unprovoked, which got folks in the opening foray, but the call within this resolution for peace, to me, was what stood out when I read it, which was, we call for just and lasting peace for Israelis and Palestinians alike. That is what we're calling for. The rest are largely facts. They're facts as were put forward that gained so much traction because they are not allowing themselves to be influenced by politics, yet facts of what actually happened on the ground. And I had the unfortunate experience of having to report videos that I saw online, which were beyond the pale, which showed dead children, dead festival goers, and having that experience of scrolling through those and actually seeing those and having to be the first one to see it and mark and report accounts, it's one of those things that it doesn't leave your mind, right? It rests there. And I understand the history and the back and forth. And I understand the pain on both sides. And I know that the hope is still for a two-state solution, but given the fact that there are still humans, Americans, being used as human shields in this conflict, I would not feel comfortable not supporting this resolution and supporting our ally and making sure that those Americans return home, that those families are unified. And so I can't stand here and by not voting for this feel like I am emboldening or encouraging the actions of an organization like Hamas, who we know undoubtedly was supported by outside foreign governments in an attempt to destabilize the region. I don't think anybody questions that. Given those pieces, given the fact that Israel is an ally, has been, and continues to be, I understand that folks are upset that this is at a local government level. I get that, but it's in front of us, and given this action, I am prepared to support it today. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. We'll go to Supervisor Adams or Supervisor Church.
Thank you. I must say that I feel absolutely torn here today, absolutely torn. I unequivocally support Israel. I stand with Israel against the horrific terrorist attack that has happened. I stand with Israel like many, many international community people stood with us after September 11th. Yet as a woman who completely believes in peace and has supported peace throughout my entire life, I feel that the bombing of innocent families in Gaza, if this resolution is interpreted as something that we support because of the language within it, I just need to say that I could not support it if that's really what it is construed to say. It troubles me deeply. I was very pleased and touched by the comments from our Peace and Freedom representative and from Sue Paris as well. I thought what they were saying was very important. I'm very empathetic and supportive of the troubles that the Muslim communities have been put through for the since time began. And if this resolution were to further the feeling of either anti-Semitism or anti-Muslim feelings, I would be uncomfortable supporting it. And so I think as I look at this, I must say that I'm fearful that this is a very divisive position that we're in. And as I think about it, I was asking myself, the old thing, what would Jesus do? Well, I don't think Jesus would take a position on this. I think Jesus's heart would be open to both sides, because that's what peace and the law of love is all about. With that in mind, I would support Supervisor Ruud Askew's thought of postponing this and just giving it 1 week, bring it back, and see if we could put the language together in some way that would not be so apparently and understandably upsetting and concerning to our colleagues and our friends and the Muslim community. I know I have so many family members and friends in the Jewish community who will probably be disappointed in my comments today. Yet in my heart, I feel like we've got to come up with a better way than continuing to make decisions that simply divide our community, our county, our state, and our world further apart. So with that, I would make if appropriate at this time, make a substitute motion to bring this back in 1 week and consider some modifications to the language that would show our support, but would not be viewed as so totally divisive. Thank you.
We'll entertain motions after Supervisor Church speaks.
Thank you.
Thank you. As somebody who spent many years on the board of the world's largest human rights organization some years ago, I'm pretty familiar with this situation and similar ones throughout the world, and it is really difficult. It is not a black and white issue. It's an issue where there's pain, there's suffering from all sides. The Hamas attacks on Israel are just nothing short of an abomination. There's nothing else to say but calling this pure, unadulterated evil to directly and deliberately attack children and the elderly, people who are the most innocent and defenseless of all. And while I completely understand Israel's right to protect itself from terrorists who massacred these people and who still hold 200 people hostage, this was 10 days ago when the wording on this resolution was basically written. It's a bit more complicated now as we try to find those who are guilty of these atrocities without further civilian deaths, and how to free the hostages. I'm not sure this resolution does that. Part of the, I would like to see something a little more balanced myself. And part of the problem I have with this also is the last be it last resolved on this, where the flag is put up. This has been an issue that's popped up through my time as supervisor quite often, where people have called my office saying this flag should be up or that flag shouldn't be up, and I realize we don't have any policy in this county. We don't have any policy, and I think it's probably time that we address that. If we're going to put the Israeli flag up, I mean, I have a problem with that at all, with the right resolution. And I necessarily wouldn't have a problem with the Palestinian flag being up, but we don't have a policy. And I do think we need to look at how we're going to handle this. Part of the thing I look at on this is a resolution states the flag is going to be up until the war is over. this conflict in Israel and Palestine has been going on for 75 years. I don't see a period when it's going to be over. This is a little too ambiguous for me to support at this point. The Ukrainian-Russian war is a lot clearer. It's a traditional war where one sovereign state's invaded another. This one here, it's not a traditional war. And I'm all for expressing solidarity to those who are being wronged, on whichever side that they are on. But then how do we address other issues such as in the South China Sea, where we have an ally, the Philippines, who are being pressured by the Chinese? Should we offer solidarity to them? Maybe we should. Or the Kurds, who are a valuable ally, and Iraq, and who have looking for their own homeland for many years. Or what about Mexico, which President Calderon declared a drug war in 2006 and still goes on? So I don't know what motion is going to come out of here, but one that I want to make is that we instruct staff to come back with a county policy in the next few weeks on how we should be dealing with flags, how long they should be up, where they should be placed, and not just in the board chambers, but in all other facilities within the county. So I would like to see this come back, rewritten a little bit, keeping this condemning of Hamas, but also taking a look at it's just a little more balanced approach to this. Israel has suffered a lot. There's no doubt about that. Thank you.
Thank you. In response, I would say that this would be a terrible message for this board majority not to support this resolution here today. It will make national news that this majority did not stand with our ally, did not stand with our greatest ally in the Middle East at a time that is so critical, so pivotal, a moment where other nations and other terrorist groups can get involved in this war. This resolution, as I mentioned earlier, was bipartisan in nature. It was written by a House of Representatives Foreign Affairs Committee. 7 of the paragraphs denounce, condemn the horrendous violent acts. If we cannot support that, shame on us as a board. The 8th paragraph just talks about the aid that the United States gives to Israel. The 9th paragraph talks about just Israel being a critical non-NATO ally and major strategic partner to our nation. And then the whereases, if anybody reads it, it's how could we not support, expresses our solidarity with Israel and stands in its right to defend itself against terrorism by Hamas and other terrorists. It condemns the brutal violent acts and slaughter of innocent civilians and urges Hamas to release all hostages. How could we, this majority, not support that? How could we not support the second whereas there be it resolved that says Israel's right to defend itself? As we support Israel's right to defend itself, we also call for just and lasting peace of Israelis and Palestinians alike. This is not controversial. This is not written in a way that's not balanced. This is condemning the worst terrorism and brutality we have witnessed, and we're going to see more of it in the next several days. Shame on us if we cannot support this here today. I think it sends the wrong message for a county not to stand up at a time of need of Israel, and I think this will be a decision this board majority will regret after today. I think this is ready to move forward today. It's supported by our 2 local members of Congress. It has, by far, you haven't seen this type of level of bipartisanship in Congress in years. There is around this language, this very exact language that I pulled it from. I did not invent this, although the numbers are outdated because the numbers of casualties are a lot greater since this was written last Wednesday. So I would call on my colleagues to reconsider. Don't make this be a vote that you will regret, that will be a stain on this board for not standing up with our ally Israel during their greatest time of need. Yes.
Thank you. I am not supporting Israel. My support for Israel is unequivocal. I stand with Israel against this horrific attack, but I'm not comfortable with placing this resolution on the Monterey County Board of Supervisors agenda in a way that condones further violence in Gaza. I feel that my substitute motion, which I will now make, is that I propose that we bring this back in 1 week and that we revisit the language that we have within this resolution so we're able to come up with something that is not quite as it is not quite as it is. And I must say that we're not Congress. We're a 5-member Board of Supervisors representing Monterey County, California. And we don't engage in foreign policy, but I think we do engage in civility and in our caring for all of the people in our community. Thank you. So I will make a substitute motion. Thank you.
I will second.
That's the original motion. There hasn't been a motion entertained yet. There's a motion and a second.
I do want to state also, if I may, I do not oppose this condemnation of Hamas and Israel's right to defend itself. I look at this resolution, understand it was written 10 days ago. I think it's out of date. It needs to be brought up to date with the current situation. That is where my position is at this point. And if I make I make my second, if I may make an amendment, Supervisor Adams, that the I'll hold back and make a motion at the end, if we can, regarding the a flag policy for the county. I'll hold that in separate.
Well, that's not agendized for action here today, so you could do a referral on that, Supervisor Church.
I don't need to do a referral. It's being raised today. I will make an amendment. I will suggest that it be part of this. Then it is being raised in here today as part of this about putting a flag up, and I do not think I do think we need to give some direction.
Oh, as direction, okay. I understand your idea.
So I want the county to come back with a policy on some policy suggestions on this.
Any other colleagues?
Just
Supervisor Lopez.
Just a question. I mean, so again, I think my issue comes back to the content, where I'm supportive of the content. I'm just curious, who's going to rewrite this? I mean, I have not heard an exact what folks are opposed to. I guess that's my concern. I've only heard that there's concerns with the language, but what stanzas are the concern so that staff can address those? I guess that's.
Supervisor Askew.
Thank you. I'm not prepared to hash out the language of this resolution in this meeting today. I did reach out to the chair before this meeting to share some of my concerns, and I didn't get any indication that there would be an opening to amend language. So I'm not prepared to have that conversation here. But I think that the comments that we've heard from the public, I think that the comments that I stated are very clear about what the concerns are, that the language in this resolution fails to account for the historical context and the complexity of what's happening in the last number of days in the region. And that needs to be addressed in any action that we take. I would further be very clear and say that we need to be abundantly clear as a county that we stand against anti-Semitism, that we stand against Islamophobia, that we are committed to the protection and the safety and the well-being of all Monterey County residents, be they Jewish, be they Muslim, be they Palestinian, be they from Gaza, that is who we are as a community, and that's not represented currently in this resolution as written. So I'm ready to call for the vote.
As chair, I invited Cantor Margaret Bruner. I don't know if you want to make any comments at this point, seeing where this board majority has now gone with this resolution. So I'll give you that option if you want to speak or not.
This is a very complex issue, and my heart is absolutely with Supervisor Askew and Supervisor Adams. I am the representative of the Jewish community in Salinas. My best friend is Palestinian. I grew up in Berkeley. I was raised as a Quaker. Quakers don't believe in war of any kind, and my mother is Jewish. So I'm very proud to have a congregation in Salinas that embraces all different faiths and recognizes that we need to stand as one human family. And I just want to share some words from Nir Avishai Cohen. He's a major in the Israeli Defense Forces Reserves and an author of the book, Love Israel Supports Palestine. Israelis must realize that there is no greater security asset than peace. The strongest army cannot protect the country the way peace does. The current war proves once again Israel has followed the path of war for too long. At the end, after all the dead Israelis and Palestinians are buried, after we have finished washing away the rivers of blood, the people who share a home in this land will have to understand there is no other choice but to follow the path of peace. That is where true victory lies. In this chamber, in the county seat of Monterey, let us strive for respect and compatibility. Let us stand together as one human family linked by our desires of peace, dignity, welfare, and love for all.
Thank you. So there's been a motion and a second. I'm not going to support this motion. I'm willing to take action in support of our greatest ally in the Middle East, Israel, and to stand with our Jewish American community. My conversation with Supervisor Askew was different than what she described. I had urged her to carefully craft language if she had suggestions, instead of the way she was phrasing it during that conversation. So I did urge to carefully craft language that she was thinking about suggesting here today. And that wasn't brought forward. So for that reason, I'm standing with the resolution and that we should take action today rather than postponing this for another day. So we'll call for the vote.
Supervisor Church?
Aye.
Supervisor Lopez?
No.
Supervisor Askew? Supervisor Adams?
I'm sorry, but I need clarity on exactly which motion we are voting on.
Your motion.
Okay, thank you very much. And then I'll have comments to make at the end.
And Chair Supervisor Alejo?
No. Motion carries 3-2. Okay, you want to make one last comment on this?
Yes, thank you very much. And what I would like to request is that we ask County Council to come back with language that would be appropriate, that would be a bit, whatever words you would like to use, but that we have County Council take a look at this and that we also start having staff take a look at doing some sort of language that would allow us to come up with a process that more clearly defines what approach we want to take to putting additional flags up in our government center. Thank you very much.
That's a motion, additional motion on this. So you need a second?
Do we need a second motion?
Yeah.
You would.
Yes.
And I
It's more direction that was not included in the original motion.
Thank you.
if I may, I would suggest in conjunction with CAOs.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. Yes. Thank you so much, of course. Thank you.
Okay, is there a second to that motion on the additional direction?
Second.
Second by Supervisor Church. I'm going to vote no for the previous reasons as well. Roll call, please.
Supervisor Church?
Aye.
Supervisor Lopez?
No.
Supervisor Askew? Supervisor Adams?
Aye.
And Chair Supervisor Alejo?
No. All right. Thank you very much, everyone. We will now continue moving along our agenda. Thank you, Cantor Bruno, for joining us as well. We are now going to appointments on the agenda. These are items 5 and 6. There's 2 appointments. So if there's no discussion, we'd like to entertain a motion. Oh, let's go to public comments on the appointments first. Anybody in chambers? Anybody online?
Move appointments.
Moved by Lopez. Is there a second by Adams? Okay, we'll call for the vote.
Supervisor Church?
Aye.
Supervisor Lopez?
Aye.
Supervisor Askew?
Absent.
Oh, Supervisor Adams, thank you.
Aye.
And Chair Supervisor Alejo.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0, with one member absent temporarily. We'll go to consent calendar. These are approval of the consent, items number 13 through 30. Do any colleagues want to pull any of these items?
29, I just wanted some clarification.
29, Church. Adams, which number? No numbers?
Sorry.
Supervisor Lopez, you got one meanwhile she looks that up? No? I don't have any.
Item number 15
15?
and 16.
Okay. Before we go to the public, we'll go to those two items first, and we'll start in numerical order. So we'll go to items 15 and 16 first.
Thank you. Both of these are very much the same. It's simply a comment. I want to ensure that that we have updates to the department names to reflect current names of the departments and the names of the people who are serving. I acknowledge that these were from 2022, but I think even at that time, the department names had changed and some of the positions as well. And then the same for item number 16. I think it's section 2.1, bullet 6, change the Monterey County Resource Management Agency to the Department of Public Works, Facilities and Parks.
Okay, so I'll just for comments, right?
Yes, that's it.
Okay, we'll go to item number 29 now, Supervisor Church.
Yes. This is the resolution authorizing the sustainability program to submit applications to the California Air Resources Board. I just noticed back at the end of it that due to the late submission of this report, the CAO Budget and Analysis Division was not able to provide adequate time to fully review. And I'm just wanting clarification on why it has to be on today's agenda instead of next week's, when it would give time for the Budget Office Budget Division to analyze.
Mr. Chairman, maybe I could speak to that. This is Nick Chulo.
Yeah, and this is only to submit applications, right? So
that's correct. And actually, we did work with the budget and analysis staff on some of the language here. The main issue with this particular item is that the details of the potential match, if we were to get the grant, are unclear at this time. And there is a time constraint on this. I believe we have a deadline about 2 weeks out to get this grant application in. It is possible that this matter could be put over a week if the board chooses. We were worried about running out of time to get the grant application submitted, if that's helpful.
No, I don't want to delay it at all. And I understand the budget analysis probably would not really have a lot to it, but I just think it's really a good process to try to get everybody to review it as they should. So I'm happy to support it. Just an item I want a little clarification on.
Thank you.
Ezekiel has his hand up.
Okay, Mr. Vega.
Yes, and I just wanted to add to what Nick said, that we try to work with the team and trying to expedite this report, but there could be a significant impact to the county if this is approved in terms of matching dollars. It could be a couple of $1 million. So I think that's why we wanted more time to review it and determine what the potential implications to the county will be. Because right now we submit the application as a county, which is a good program to submit the application for, but then we'll have to identify the dollars if we get awarded. But we didn't want to have the board to be in a difficult position if that was awarded at that point. So we could work with Nick's team on this, and it could be submitted as is right now, but just wanted to make sure that we explore more what the potential implications will be for the matching dollars in the future.
Thank you.
And Cora has her hand up. Pandora.
All right. I don't think we need any more on this, though. I think it had been thoroughly answered. It was just raising that concern. Let's go to Supervisor Askew. Do you have any items on the consent that need to be, okay? So the ones that were pulled were only for comment. Now let's go to the members of the public to comment on any of these items, 13 through 30 on the consent calendar.
Good morning, Eloise Shim again. I wanted to comment on items 13 through 18, which have to do with the healthcare costs. The healthcare costs have skyrocketed so much in Monterey County that a premium for a family of 4 under covered California is now $3,500, a monthly premium. So I think that there needs to be some focus on the healthcare costs. I also want to comment on item 20. about the 100,000 for the homeless shelter for women and children. I myself was in the one at across from the courthouse between 2018 and 2019. I was kicked out of that 3 times. They went through my purse each time I went in there. They went through all my bags for drugs, criminalizing me. I hope that doesn't go on in the new one. I also want to comment on 22 about house management. I think house case management can be a violation of the Fourth Amendment where you're searching and seizing on people's households. I want to comment on Monterey County Free Libraries. Between 2008 and 2010, they fired me. I experienced workplace harassment and bullying because I wore a hijab and I'm a Muslim. I also want to comment on 30 about mental health and the workplace. Freedom from workplace bullying goes beyond physical aggression. It affects mental, emotional, and it can manifest in aggressive verbal assaults and continuously undermine a person's self-worth.
Thank you. Anyone else in chambers? Seeing no one else, we'll go to those online on consent calendar, items 13 through 30. Seeing no one else, we're going to close public comment and we'll entertain a motion for approval.
Move to approve.
Moved by Adams, second by Lopez, approving items 13 through 30. We'll do a roll call vote.
Supervisor Church?
Aye.
Supervisor Lopez?
Aye.
Supervisor Askew? Supervisor Adams?
Aye.
And Chair Supervisor Alejo.
Aye, motion carries unanimously, 5-0. Now we'll go to general public comments, item number 8. This is the time to speak on any items not on today's agenda. So, sir, this is that time. We'll start with those in chambers and then we'll go to those on Zoom.
Chandler Rowland, I'm a Marina resident. I'm embarrassed to have to make a presentation on a local subject after listening over the last hour in regards to the international issues, but I'm going to do it anyway. The 2022 MST annual report states that Project Surf Bus Program would connect Salinas and the Monterey Peninsula up to 15 minutes faster than the existing Route 20 express schedule. Upon questioning, an MST employee states that between the Marina and Sand City transit stations, the new 2 bus lanes would save 10 minutes in travel time. In saving them 10 minutes in travel time, the TAMC 1-year 880,000 non-vehicle owner bus passengers would cost possibly $100 million in tax dollar grant funding and destroy 6 miles of environmental landscape and recreational activities between Marina Sand City transit stations. The present MST Surf project is a perfect example of enhancing long-term political friendships, labor influence, 650 jobs, granite rock pressure, and possible political voter approval from passenger riders. In my opinion, the severe negatives of the SURF project far outweigh the 10-minute travel savings for passengers with or without vehicle ownership. Please reject SURF.
Thank you very much. Let's go to anyone else in chambers. Let's go to those on Zoom.
Yes, Christian Snyder.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
All right. Supervisor Alejo, I don't think you should be chastising anybody from the dais for their poor verbiage or statements that they make, considering I'm still waiting for an apology from you where you stated that I slandered people, that I falsely or whatever it was, filed FPPC complaints that turned out to be true. So you were wrong. You were 100% wrong, and you still haven't apologized. Now, on to my other subject that I was talking about earlier today in closed session public comment. Part of what I figured out with my therapist was you have me applying or complaining to the exact people who are injuring me. And if you look to your right, I think you'll see Susan Blitch. So I've asked to file a complaint against Susan Blitch, I don't know, about 5-6 times. I've asked Susan Blitch not to be included in conversations, because if you look at the history of this lawsuit, it all comes down to Susan Blitch. This is the individual that's been violating my rights. This is the one who's created all of this confusion where you don't know what you're voting on or when you were supposed to or what the statute of limitations are or any of it. And yet you're taking advice from them. Do you think they might be looking out for themselves? Do you think you might not be getting the entire story? Because that's the issue here. Did you take a vote on April 18th for a settlement agreement? Yes or no? I would like that as a CPRA request to be sent to me. Because that's what you said in court. You took a vote, and I don't think you did. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else online?
Joey Espinoza.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning. I comment today to seek your support for the cannabis industry and their tax payments. As you know, most of your operators are on a payment plan for last fiscal year, having paid just yesterday for the 15th, due every 15th. And a lot of them are very concerned with finishing out this payment plan, which should be finished by December, while also making the current fiscal year payments on October 31st and then on January 31st. The price has not gotten any better. They're still seeing very low pricing. And now that we're entering the winter months, they're going to be having lower harvests. So the concern is that while we want to finish these payment plans and get the money to the county that is owed, doing that while you have these other large payments due in full on October 31st and January 31st is going to be very challenging for them. And the current policy is that if you miss a payment, there's a 10% penalty the first month, an additional 10% penalty the second month, and then interest after that. So we're hoping that the board may be willing to do something, potentially deferring penalties and interest for quarter 1 and quarter 2 until April 30th, which would give them a better chance to make it through the colder months and have at least one harvest outside of winter. That would also allow them to finish their current payment plan, as it will be wrapped up in December, and get us to a point where we can move on from payment plans and hopefully move on, period. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Chris Boggs.
Hello, good morning, supervisors. This is Chris Boggs with Wave Rider Nursery. I just wanted to piggyback on what Joey was just talking about, the tax payments and such. What he mentioned, allowing us through April would be an ideal situation, just to let us finish up the existing payment plans. We're not asking for a reduction in tax or anything like that. The bare minimum would be maybe if we could take those quarterly payments and divide them into 3, so we just keep a monthly payment. That way we're never behind. That would be ideal too, instead of coming up with the full lump sum at the end of this month, in addition to our existing payment plans. But any help you guys could give us would be great. Like Joey said, the market is very painful right now. So we're looking for any help we can get. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next person.
There's no more hands raised.
Last call for public comments for items not on today's agenda.
Somebody just raised their hand. RS.
Last caller S, you're up. You're gonna mute yourself. We're not hearing anything in chambers.
Their microphone is still off.
All right, last call. Okay. So thank you. We're going to close public comments then. There's seems to be technical difficulties with your mic. So we're going to move on to our next item. We have a presentation next by Monterey Salinas Transit, and we're proud to welcome Carl Sidorik, Lisa Reinheimer, Assistant Manager, and Michelle Overmeyer to make a presentation. Thank you.
Good morning, Supervisors. Carl Sidorik had a conflict this morning, so I'm presenting. Michelle Overmeyer, I'm the Director of Planning and Innovation for MST. Looks like this isn't going forward. Here we go. So MST is the public transit operator for Monterey County. It's a special district, and our governing board is made up of one member from each city council and one member from the County Board of Supervisors. Supervisor Alejo represents the county. Our mission is advocating and delivering quality public transportation as a leader within our community and within our industry. Our brand vision is connecting communities, creating opportunity, and being kind to our planet. We carried 2.2 million passengers in the fiscal year that just ended. We recently completed a passenger survey. We do these every 2 years. The vast majority of our bus riders are low-income and minority populations. Bus riders travel for many reasons, and many riders take more than one trip. Most bus riders are going to work, school, medical appointments, or shopping. People use MST because they have no car available to them, they can't drive, or because it's cheaper than driving. Here you can see how respondents noted how they would travel if MST was not available. The largest group would get a ride from a friend or family member. Nearly 20% simply would not travel at all, and the remainder would take Uber, taxi, Lyft, walk, bike, or drive themselves. MST carries about 6,000 passengers per day. The most heavily used bus stops in the county are the major transit hubs: Salinas Transit Center here in downtown, Monterey Transit Plaza, and Sand City Station. As a leader in addressing the climate crisis, the state has set some lofty goals for reducing greenhouse gas emissions from the transportation sector. By 2040, MST needs to be zero emissions. Currently, 100% of the big buses are using biofuel or renewable energy. 74% of MST's passengers agree that reducing greenhouse gas emissions is important. And we'll be placing a big order later this year for about 12 all-electric buses. This is a picture of one of those buses that we have in our fleet now, zero emission. Our service is Monterey County, and we do have connections in Watsonville and Paso Robles. And beginning October 30th, we will be providing service up to the Gilroy Caltrain station. Our customers are very satisfied with our service. 91% of those surveyed here in the county consider our drivers to have good or excellent driving, and this is much higher than the national average of 73%. The biggest difference I want to point out here is under cleanliness. 82% of our customers score cleanliness as good or excellent. By contrast, it's only 38% nationwide. We also surveyed county residents that don't use MST. They're familiar with the services that we provide, and almost all feel that MST services are valuable and that it's important to fund public transit. We have a $58 million annual operating budget. We receive a substantial amount of state and federal funds. Measure Q provides about 22% of our operating budget. 5% of our revenues are recovered at the fare box through passenger fares. And as transit ridership is still recovering from a drop from the beginning of the pandemic, we do have a funding gap. So we have $4.5 million as a projected shortfall, and we'll be using our reserves to cover that. And so where does the money go? Most of it is spent on labor. That's the largest expense. We spend about 20% on purchased transportation, which includes the Rides Paratransit program. 10% of our operating budget goes to fuel, parts, and supplies, and then the remainder goes to things like consultant services, office leases, janitorial, and landscaping services. So as I mentioned, Measure Q provides about 22% of the operating budget. It's a 1/8% sales tax that we pay here in Monterey County. It's dedicated for transit services specific to veterans, seniors, and people with disabilities. It funds the Rides Paratransit program, which is required under Americans with Disabilities Act, and also a number of other mobility programs are funded with Measure Q. Another sales tax program we have is Measure X, and this is administered by the Transportation Agency for Monterey County, which is the umbrella agency for all modes of travel. This measure is a 3/8% sales tax, with the majority going to streets and roads. MST does receive a small portion, and we're using Measure X to help fund the SURF project. It helped pay for our King City maintenance facility that was recently constructed, and then we're also looking at a project here in Salinas to expand our maintenance facility. We've had a lot going on since MST has presented to this board. We opened an operations and maintenance facility in King City 2 years ago. We established the College Eco Smart Pass program. So all students at Hartnell College, Monterey Peninsula College, and CSUMB can ride MST for free with a valid student ID. We added a new way for our riders to pay their bus fare. We started a van pool program, and my baby was the Better Bus Network that was implemented in December. This is the contactless fare payment system. We were the first in the country to implement an open loop payment system so people can use their credit card, debit card, Apple Pay, Google Pay, etc., to pay their bus fare. It's $2 to ride MST for 2 hours. Fares cap out at $6 per day, $20 per week, $70 per month. And the contactless system tracks the usage so no individual gets charged beyond that amount, provided they're using the same card. And we're seeing about 7% of our transactions are using this system. In December, we launched the Better Bus Network, a project that my team spent 2 years working on. I presented this to your board last fall. And as a quick reminder, we redesigned the entire system in Monterey County to reallocate services where they're needed the most. Time transfers are a cornerstone of this new system. All buses pulse into the major transit hubs. Bus riders have about 5 minutes to change buses if they need to, and then the buses go back out into the system. And what is coming up for MST? We remain very busy. We've outgrown the operations and maintenance facility here in Salinas, so we're going to be expanding so that we can meet the future demand. We have a couple public scoping meetings that are coming up in early November so we can get feedback on our expanded facility. Our next phase of improvements to the transit system will look at the Alisal area where most of our riders live. And then to transition to the zero-emission fleet and supporting infrastructure, we're going to be spending a lot of time and money putting work into that. We have the SURF project, which I think all of you know about. There are no carpool lanes in Monterey County, so MST is stuck in the same congestion as everyone else, and this causes delays for our passengers. We're starting to see some of those timed connections that I just mentioned break down at the Salinas Transit Center and Monterey Transit Plaza. And so that's difficult for our passengers who travel between Salinas and Monterey. So that the SURF project will help relieve congestion on Highway 1. This is a rendering of what the busway will look like when it's completed. Challenges and opportunities. We have a number of positions, job openings at MST. A shameless plug for me, I am going to be hiring a planner, so please spread the word. And then we're also looking for bus drivers. There's a nationwide shortage of bus drivers. MST has been aggressive at recruiting coach operators. We're currently offering $3,500 in a series of bonuses to those who apply and meet certain criteria in their first year. The federal government dysfunction, if it shuts down next month, that could delay millions of dollars to MST. We're working with our industry peers to identify training opportunities so that we can upskill our workforce for the zero emission technology. Each city in the county has to increase housing stock, and we've seen state laws influence parking requirements. So there is a great opportunity for us to better align land use decisions with transportation. I'm leading up a transit-oriented development, or TOD, planning study with city staff along the SURF corridor, and this is a model that could be replicated in other parts of the county. And then finally, I want to mention SB 125. The state budget this year included $5 billion to support transit operators in their recovery from the pandemic and to ward off service cuts. As I mentioned, we're looking at a $4.5 million shortfall in our operating budget, so the SB 125 funds could help support that. We're working with our partners at TAMC to allocate the money. This region has $52 million coming, and we'd like to see those funds programmed for the types of priority projects that the legislators had envisioned when they approved SB 125. So that was a lot of information, a lot of talking. I will answer any questions you have. And again, I'm Michelle Overmeyer, filling in for Carl today.
Thank you for filling in for three people. But I think we celebrated MST's 50th anniversary a couple weeks ago here in this chamber, but it's good for the community. I know you guys do this every annual, how is MST doing with our board, but here in this chamber, we don't get to see, and it's such a critical service for our workforce, for our students, for our seniors, our military, and it's important, at least for our board, to be apprised of the good work that MST is doing. It's a model agency, and it's doing a lot of cutting-edge work, so I appreciate getting that update in this, before the board as well. So I want to just open it up to colleagues if you have any questions or comments on this. Supervisor Askew?
Thank you. Just keep up the good work. Thank you for the presentation. Thank you, Supervisor Alejo, for representing our county needs on the MST board. We're really excited in District 4 about some of the big projects that you have coming forward, the SURF project specifically. And I often talk to residents, and we talk about just sort of our day-to-day living and how we utilize transportation. But I think the thing that's exciting is that MST is thinking really into the future and preparing for a future that that won't necessarily benefit me, but will benefit my children and our future housing folks and workforce. So keep up the good work. Thank you so much for the presentation. And we wave every time we see an MST bus drive by. So thank you.
Thanks. Anyone else? Supervisor Church? Okay. I just wanted the public to know that we provide not only service within Monterey County, but we do go to Watsonville and Santa Cruz County. And then most recently, if you want to announce, we reopened the line to Gilroy.
Yeah, we got funding from the state, and we have a partnership with Santa Clara VTA. So on October 30th, we're going to begin weekday service up to the Gilroy Caltrain station. So we'll connect with one train going northbound, and then in the evening, one train that's coming southbound. Great. October 30th.
Definitely. So thank you for that update on that as well. If there's no further comments, I want to thank you for your presentation and keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're moving to our only scheduled item today, item number 9, to receive a presentation and consider approval of a county. Wait, let me just ask you, is there any public comments on that presentation? Don't see anybody in chambers, nobody online. Thank you, I forgot to ask for that. Let's go to receive a presentation and consider approval of a County Enhanced Infrastructure Finance District, or EIFD, policy and provide direction to staff. And we do have Richard Vaughn, our Economic Development Director, to present on this.
Your presentation is on that. Yeah.
For Monterey County. Here we go. And let me scroll through this here. So as Supervisor Alejo had stated, thank you, Chair, Board of Supervisors, CAO De La Rosa. I am presenting on the Economic Development Enhanced Infrastructure Financing District policy for the board. And so this policy, just wanted to give you some background on it. The County of Monterey has received several interests from cities regarding Enhanced Infrastructure Financing District. And just a broad definition for you of what an Enhanced Infrastructure Financing District is. It's a financing tool that allows local governments, typically cities and counties, to fund public infrastructure and development projects through a unique partnership between public sector and private investment by leveraging tax increments and other revenue sources. EIFDs enable communities to address critical infrastructure needs and promote economic growth within defined project areas. And with that, we have had in the past one approved EIFD in collaboration with the City of Gonzales that is still underway. And with potential for additional EIFD agreements, working with the County Administrative Office, our Budget Director, myself at Economic Development, Housing Community Development, and Public Works, we saw the need for a policy regarding how the county receives requests for entering into an agreement with the city for an EIFD. And so quick EIFD policy outline that we have for you is that all proposals will be submitted to the CAO office by way of economic development. So I would essentially receive those and then be distributing them to our CAO team, and then also to the supervisor who is the representative of where that specific project would be located, and it'd be based upon the supervisorial districts. So real quick outline for you. Number one is the contribution of the tax increment within the policy. We have the terms of county participation in EIFDs, the required elements for the city proposals, the county analysis and city proposal, and lastly, miscellaneous provisions. And there's going to be a lot of text. This is a very text-heavy presentation, so I'll be going a little off of script and just giving you a quick rundown and summary so we don't eat into lunch for everyone. So there is a minimum city contribution for the tax increment, and we're asking that the county and the city's contribution be at least equal to the same percentage. There's also correlations of contributions, so we have some limitations, correlations. So in a case that an actual dollar amount resulting from the above sections is lower, we're asking that the city increase their dollar amount so that they match the same contribution from the county. And then there are limitations on the tax increment as provided by our budget director and recently assistant CAO, Ezekiel Vega, in that our county tax increment contribution will only be composed of future ad valorem property tax increment growth within the specific geographic area proposed for this EIFD. And now going into some the term of the county participation in this EIFD, in any EIFD going forward. We would ask that a maximum term be set at 25 years, subject to Board of Supervisor approval and any request for extensions on that. So the maximum would be 25 years, but upon board request or board approval, that could be extended. And the scenario where that would be extended is if the city that is working on this EIFD with the county were to reach out and provide an updated proposal 6 months prior to the end of the 25-year term, requesting that extension. Termination prior to the end of term. So this would be, we've approved potential EIFD through this policy, and there happens to be non-performance by the district, or there is a change in the project feasibility, so outside market conditions that could change whether this vehicle is the appropriate one for financing infrastructure. And lastly, if the city is not amenable to agreeing to the above two terms, then that would nullify any agreement. And so going on to required elements for this city proposal, we wanted to make sure that this was straightforward, pulled language from other counties and other cities regarding EIFDs that were successful. And so we were asking that should a city going forward request that the county be a partner in this, that they provide an executive summary, basic description of the project, and that includes proposed project details, a narrative of what type of development will be happening within this geographic zone. So commercial, industrial, residential, and then you have a list of different things underneath that we're requesting depending on the type of development. We're also requesting that a demonstration of social benefits be included. So how does this EIFD impact the specific region, the residents, the community in that area? We are wanting to make sure and emphasize that there is a dedication to supporting economic development projects benefiting its residents countywide. So how does this benefit the county, and how does it benefit the region that it is going to be developed in? And some of those you'll see in number 2 here. How are the project goals of the city consistent with the stated goals of the County Board of Supervisors in one or more of the policy areas, such as workforce, transportation, homeless, sustainability, and affordable housing? Some additional required elements. We're asking for financial details related to the project. So a full financial analysis, so that way we can understand what the potential total dollar value of this proposed development would be, and what the amount that would be available by way of tax increment for the infrastructure. So that way the county can ensure that going forward with this, it will be able to suffice and provide enough financing for the infrastructure that is needed. We're also asking for additional tax-related generation from this specific area, specifically if there's going to be any types of developments that would generate transient occupancy tax, sales tax, or any other types of tax that would be generated from this area that the county would be engaging with. There would also be ongoing administrative responsibilities. So we'd be asking that a submission of what those would be, what the total dollar figure would be for those, as certain county staff and county departments would be impacted. And lastly, a positive net impact to the county. So the project proposal must be determined that there is a positive net financial impact to the county's finances in the future. And the last 2 that we have for you, so our county analysis of the city proposal once it has been received. So while evaluating the city's proposal, it may be necessary for the county to hire consultants to assist in evaluation. The city shall compensate the county for reasonable costs of outside consultants assisting the county with its evaluation of the city's proposal. And our miscellaneous provisions, the county shall not participate in any EIFD that uses eminent domain on inhabited residential properties. And for projects with an affordable housing component, the county will be interested to explore crediting some of the new housing towards the county's regional housing needs allocation. And one thing that we didn't touch on throughout that presentation, but overall, is that this EIFD policy also includes a governance section which would require that a supervisor within the specific district that a project is located be sitting on the seat of this EIFD board that would be created. And a couple projects that are currently being inquired with the county at the CAO level is one potentially in the city of Marina and one potentially in the city of Salinas. And that is all that I have for you today.
Great, thank you very much. I know this is a broader discussion, but is there what are the likely proposed EIFDs? What cities have been in discussion with the counties? Because these EIFDs were resulted out of the state's elimination of what was known as redevelopment, right? And for redevelopment led local cities, local communities, local governments, cities and counties to keep tax increment locally rather than sending it to the state for us to reinvest. It was intended to address blighted areas, but Governor Brown, when he was there during the budget deficit, he focused on that being part of the solution to do away with these. There was some communities that were abusing redevelopment law, but as a result, EIFDs came into place as a new tool for tax increment. And the other one is one I co-authored. It was the CREA, California Redevelopment Investment. I forgot the acronym. What it's called? California, I think, Reinvestment Authorities. So that was another tool that was created. But what are the communities that are likely would enter into partnership with the county to create an EIFD and to utilize tax increment investment?
Yeah, so we currently have one on the books with the city of Gonzales, so one in South County. We currently have some interest from the city of Salinas, interest from the city of Marina, and a while back we had some interest from the city of Seaside.
Okay. All right. Let's go to questions from other colleagues.
Just a quick question about the two projects that you mentioned, Marina and Salinas. Are they for residential development or is it some other approach?
So the one for Salinas, as far as I know, would not include residential. The one for Marina is in its very early stages, and there hasn't been much discussion around what the entire scope of that project would be.
And from your knowledge of how these work in other places, can you give me any idea of the, say just in general, the percentage of those projects that do focus on housing as opposed to like some other kind of economic development?
So I would say most of the EIFDs that I am aware of that have happened in Southern California do not primarily focus on housing. But as Supervisor Alejo had alluded to, CREA is primarily the avenue for housing within this economic development space.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else? Supervisor Lopez.
Yeah, just appreciation for bringing this policy forward. I think it's important that we have that predetermined because we know that this particular vehicle is becoming more important for different jurisdictions that are looking to attract new industry or expand on existing industries. And as they do that, I think it's easier if we have a policy that smooths the way so they understand what those questions are that we're going to ask when they walk through the door, rather than making it up each time. Mm-hmm. And so I appreciate the policy recommendation. In terms of process, when do you anticipate coming back to formally adopt such a policy, given that today is only to receive input and give direction?
As soon as possible. So depending upon the decision made by the board today, we'll go back, work with the CAO team. I'll connect with CAO De La Rosa and figure out if there are any additions or revisions that need to be made to this, and we'll get something back to the board as quickly as we can.
Thank you.
Great. Any other comments from the board? Seeing none, I'll go to those from the public. Any members of the public want to comment on these EIFDs? I don't see anybody in chambers. Anybody online?
Lisa Britton.
Hi, good afternoon. Hi, Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Oh, great. Thank you. Hi, my name is Lisa Brinton. I'm the Community Development Director for the City of Salinas. And as mentioned by Mr. Vaughn, we are one of the cities that are exploring using an EIFD to finance critical infrastructure to facilitate the development at the Salinas Ag Industrial Center. And while this project is primarily industrial, its focus is on job creation and not housing development. And we really appreciate the county's efforts and staff bringing forward this policy because it really does pave the way and set the expectations and outlines a process for the city to then come forward should we choose so. We're taking this item for consideration to our city council on October 24th. But we really appreciate it. One suggestion we have is to add language that provides some flexibility to the board for overriding considerations. For example, the term of 25 years may be restrictive given the time it takes to set up an EIFD, as well as for development to progress. So that is just something to consider. Instead of, this is very solid policy and very straightforward, but perhaps just giving some consideration to giving the board discretion on a case-by-case basis to make overriding considerations as necessary to facilitate the process. So thank you very much for considering this policy.
Thank you, Lisa. Appreciate that. Anyone else? You want to respond to that? What, when you bring this back, what would some options for flexibility for overriding considerations look like?
So, Mr. Chair, I misspoke. It is agendized for approval today. I looked at the second.
Oh, it is?
and provide direction. So, yeah, I just want to make that clarification.
But it would come back finalized in a future meeting, correct?
The board could choose to adopt it or could provide direction to come back with changes.
CEO De La Rosa.
The idea was to bring this policy forward for your review, and then if there were any changes that you wanted to recommend, we could incorporate those. Or if you're agreeable with that, with it as it's drafted, we can go ahead and move forward and adopt the policy today and have it in place.
Okay, and could you answer that question from Lisa Brinton from the city?
Yeah, if that's something that the board is interested in, having an override clause within this, specifically centered around the 25 years, we were looking at it and anticipating that these projects would be shovel-ready and ready to go and be available to move forward quickly within those 3 years, but 3 years and then the total length of the 25 years. And we added that clause to allow the cities to request for an extension on an EIFD if needed. But if that's something that the board would like to add into that section, that there's an override clause by the Board of Supervisors for any projects that are proposed that go beyond the 25 years, we can certainly do that.
All right, I want to see how the board feels, if they're ready to act today on, this is important, this would be an expansion of EFIDs with in partnership with other cities. If the board is ready to act today, or would they like this to come back in a couple weeks or so?
I'm ready to act today. I think it's good to go.
Everybody good? Seems like I'm getting some nods. Supervisor Church? All right.
I think given the fact that if a project came forward today, there'd be 25 years. To make that small amendment to say overriding, I agree we should have that opportunity to let somebody with a project bring it to this board, but ask that as soon as possible that option be brought to the board for just an update on that particular item.
Point, okay. All right.
And I'll make that in the form of a motion.
Moved. Is there a second? A second by Askew. And CREO is Community Revitalization Investment Authority. Had to come back to me as the author of that option. All right. There's been a motion and a second. Let's call for the roll.
Supervisor Church?
Aye.
Supervisor Lopez?
Aye.
Supervisor Root Askew? Aye. Supervisor Adams?
Aye.
And Chair Supervisor Alejo?
Aye. Motion carries unanimously, 5-0. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Now we're going to go to other board matters and wrap this meeting up. We'll go to CAO comments first.
Just a couple comments today. I do want to welcome our newest assistant CAO. She's actually in the back of the room and probably hiding. But that Debbie Palinelli is joining us after serving as an assistant with the Fresno County Retirement Association, and now previously served as an assistant CAO in Fresno County, and prior to that as an assistant to the Auditor Controller's Office in Tulare County. So she has about 20 years of experience and is joining us, has a in-depth background in budgets, so certainly very supportive of the work that Ezekiel has been doing as well. So, but in addition to that, she'll be providing added resource and support to our departments as well, as we now have reached full all the positions are filled within the leadership of the CAO's office, and so it'll allow us to run a smoother operation by having other folks be able to reach back out to our folks on, with boots on the ground. And that's the only update I have. Thank you.
All right, welcome very much. Let's give a round of applause for joining the county family. You know, Supervisor Buddy Mendes is going to say we're pulling all the talent from Fresno County now. All right, let's go to new referrals. There's one
yes.
Report out on a new referral.
Yes, we do have a new referral, and this is actually just receiving it. We did, Supervisor Askew did announce it, but we received it a little late the last time, so this is only to announce that it has been received and has been assigned to the County Council, and it is related to the development of a policy that supports fair appointments to the Monterey County Regional Fire District Board of Directors by the Board of Supervisors. And I believe there's a draft that our County Council has already worked on, and so there'll be a report forthcoming.
I should just add that Les Gerard is prepared to address this next week if the chair would like to agendize it for next week.
All right, thank you very much.
Is it appropriate for questions?
Yes, from the CEOs on this referral?
On this referral?
Yes.
So I was just wondering if there could be language inserted about policy. You know, the whole idea of policy around all of the referrals as we're looking at special districts throughout the county, rather than just focusing in on the regional fire district. Should we not be looking at all the special districts and what the appointing process is for those? If that, I'm, just asking if that something.
I see Les Gerard coming to comment.
That will take a little bit more time, Supervisor. Each special district is unique in terms of their geography and which supervisorial districts they lie within. There is an urgency with respect to this particular matter, so I drafted a draft resolution focusing just on Monterey County Regional, but we can try to address the broader picture, but that'll take a little bit more time because of the diversity of our special districts within the county.
Thank you.
All right. Yes, go ahead.
My apologies, not related to this specifically, but if I can make just two more additional CAO comments, if you're okay with that.
Let's go to the keep on the referral, and then we'll go to the additional comments, because I also got to go to the public comment on this item.
No, thank you. And thank you, Les, for the fast action. This is an urgent item. There is a vacancy currently on the Fire District Board, and thank you for your patience, Chief Sargente, as we've worked through this. And I think, just to clarify, so the draft policy that you'll be able to bring back County Council next week, we'll be able to take action on it and begin immediately advertising according to the policy. Is that correct? I'm very sensitive to the need to have the vacancy filled.
That's correct. That would be processing a board report with the draft resolution that could be adopted next week, at least considered by the board.
Okay, great. And then I would love to have public comment or the opportunity of that.
Okay, yeah. Is there any members of the public who would like to comment on item number 8, just on new referrals? Thank you for waiting patiently.
No problem.
Probably interesting.
Good morning, Chair Alejo and fellow board members. My name is David Sargenti. I'm the fire chief for the Monterey County Regional Fire District. And the mission of the district is to provide protect lives, property, and the environment by providing excellent, fiscally responsible fire and emergency response, prevention, public education, and training. MCRFD is an independent special district that our sole purpose is to provide fire, rescue, and emergency medical response to our over 400 square mile district. We do rely on the Board of Supervisors to appoint our Board of Directors, and we've enjoyed a great relationship with each and every one of you if you support the district as we go through our challenging fiscal issues and challenges as we provide that level of service to our constituents. Our directors provide policy direction, oversight, and support for the men and women of Monterey County Regional as we go out and serve our citizens, our residents, our businesses, and our visitors. I do support this referral and the development of a Board of Supervisor policy on how appointments are made to the fire district. And I ask that your board choose wisely as you solicit and bring new members to our board, as we have enjoyed very good relationships with our board who have that single focus of providing excellent and fiscally responsible emergency response to our community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Don't see anyone else in chambers. Anyone else online? Okay, we'll bring this back out just for a report out. Now let's go to other CAO comments. A couple of other.
Sorry, I just had one other comment, one other question of Sergeant, I always do that, Chief Sargenti. I always want to call him Sergeant Sargenti, which is rather a demotion, and I don't want that to happen to you. But at any rate, Chief, I was just curious because there is a vacancy on the board at this point. Is that causing any kind of difficulty at all if it takes a while for the policy to be fleshed out, et cetera? Are you okay, or want some background on that?
Sure. We still have 4 board members, and our next board meeting is the middle of November, which I already have a quorum for. But any expedition to this would be greatly appreciated.
Okay, and thank you.
Okay, let's wrap that up. Let's go back to CAO comments.
Okay, just a couple more items. We do have the Homelessness Summit this Thursday, and I just want to remind folks it is in Salinas. And also, there is quite a bit of work that's going to be done within the next couple weeks by Caltrans as a result of a mission task from California Department of Emergency Services, and this is in the Big Sur area. So I just want to acknowledge our partners at Caltrans because they're going to be doing quite a bit of work in a very short time frame, trying to do the work within the executive order period, but also potentially having to then do a notice thereafter if it does go beyond that time. But they are in a fast track and working to address the log jam on the Big Sur River. So thank you.
A personal thanks to you, Sonia, for your leadership in getting that log jam unjammed. Thank you.
All right. Seeing no further comments, then we'll go to item number 12, board comments, and we'll start with Supervisor Askew today.
Thank you. I just want to announce that we have our Delray Oaks Town Hall meeting with Delray Oaks Mayor Scott Donaldson. That'll be at the Delray Oaks City Hall on October 26th at 5:30. We had a great conversation with Mayor Ian Oglesby last week in Seaside at our town hall. Also want to just give a big shout out and congratulations to Salinas Valley Pride for a really beautiful and lovely Pride celebration this last weekend. Thank you.
Great. Supervisor Adams.
Thank you. Actually, we have a number of meetings that are in the planning stage, primarily regarding issues around flooding in the Carmel River as we prepare for another wet winter. So those are some things I'll be bringing up later on. Did want to mention that we had a very successful Monterey Peninsula Water Management District meeting this past week. There were close to 200 people who came to express their opinions on where we are going with the implementation of the voter approved Measure J from 2018. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Lopez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll just share that we've got our continuing community town halls and invite folks to join us for those listening sessions. There is a list up on our social media pages. Also want to share this weekend I had the honor of being the keynote speaker at the Gonzales High School's Career and Vocational Fair, which was very well attended and a very exciting event. So I want to congratulate everyone, especially Candace Camacho from Gonzales, who had a hand in making that event possible. It was incredible to see even 3rd and 4th graders out there learning about the how to become a firefighter, how to become a police officer, getting that direct interaction in community was heartening. So I want to thank everybody who had a hand in making that possible. Next Wednesday night is a big meeting in the community of San Lucas, and that is the water board from the state will be down to listen to the residents of the community of San Lucas about their concerns. They've canceled the meeting a couple times, so we're excited that this time it's actually going to happen. So again, next Wednesday, that will be taking place in San Lucas at 5:30 at the school. Invite folks to come down and join us and listen to the concerns of the residents. But that's all I've got this week. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
It's only been 12 years.
That's it.
All right, Supervisor Church.
Sure, thank you. I just have one item, and I want to go through and give a big congratulations to Rancho Cielo and their construction team of students. They went down to the Orange County Sustainability Decathlon and came back with first place in architecture and interior design, as well as sustainability and resilience. And then they also got second place, and I can find it here, second place in communications and marketing, and one other too, but I'm having trouble locating it at the moment. Well, can't remember the second place one, but I know they really cleaned up on everything down there, and it's really it's a really great feat, and they really deserve a great deal of congratulations.
Can I weigh in on that for a sec?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I'm so glad that you brought that up, Glenn, because it really was a phenomenal experience. I mean, these kids were in competition with some major universities. It was really fantastic. And because of the number of first places and second places that they won, they were the overall winner of the most number of, I think it was first place certificates. So it's really a kudos to that organization. Thanks to our former partner, Supervisor John Phillips, formerly Judge Phillips, and to all of the excellent people that that team had. Pete Scudder, Don Chapin, Bill Hayward were all volunteers working with those kids to ensure that they had this amazing project. And it's a real, just a bow for that organization. I think we all have a lot to thank those folks for, but primarily the students that were able to put so much energy into this and who learned so much. We're going to all benefit from that as we continue to move toward a climate change, sustainable kind of house construction. So thank you again. Thanks a lot, Supervisor Church, for bringing it up. It's in your district, and you're the one that gets the credit then. Thank you.
I
don't get the credit. The Rancho Cielo team gets the credit. And the second place they got was in engineering and construction. So they came out there with 2 golds and 2 silvers. And those are winning numbers, however you weigh it.
Great. Supervisor Lopez wants to add on.
Jump on that bandwagon and say I got to tour that unit when it was about 3/4 of the way complete with Congressman Panetta, and that thing was incredible. I saw the stress on the students' faces when they were talking about timelines in front of them, saying, well, you've only got a couple weeks left, and they were like, oh, how are we going to get it done? But using incredible materials like cork and other really sustainable inputs to have such an incredible unit put together as a model is absolutely something we should celebrate. So I'm excited, hopefully, to see more of those units come out of Rancho Cielo and make their way into our community. If these ribbons aren't enough to place them on our list of approved designs, I don't know what is going to be, but congratulations to everyone.
Thank you very much. And on my comments, I first want to thank Kristen Lundquist of the City of Salinas, who brought these baseball cards, but they're mural cards about the recent murals they put up in Salinas. And this was a grant by Caltrans and Clean California in partnership with the Arts Council for Monterey County and the City of Salinas. So they wanted to kind of show the beauty of what public art really does to enhance and revitalize communities. So these are in Salinas, just under Highway 101 underpasses. But they have some description of the 3 artists or artist groups: Lanetta Murals, Timothy Robert Smith, and then MJ Lindo Lawyer and Josh Lawyer, who worked on these various murals throughout the city. So they wanted to make sure you saw those. I just wanted to also just say that Last Friday, we had our first ever joint meeting with the Rail Policy Committee. Not all of them, but just we had some members of the Rail Policy Committee and some members of the Santa Cruz County Regional Transportation Commission gather in Pajaro to look at the proposed site for a new train station. When we get that there, the TAMSI recently was awarded a grant, I think almost $2 million to start the environmental review process. So this was our first meeting, just kind of getting on the same page and talking about greater collaboration and support to make a Pajaro train station a reality, which would really be a game changer for that community. I also want to give a shout out to Salinas Valley Pride organizers. It was a great event at Central Park here in Salinas, so I just want to applaud them for that. And then this coming week, I want to also recognize our second annual homelessness summit at the National Steinbeck Center. It starts at 9:30, but we do have the governor's advisor, senior advisor on homelessness coming, and some other key folks that will be there. It's sold out in person. We had 350 spots. They're all sold out, but we are welcoming the public to join us on Zoom. That's free. You don't need a ticket for that, and I hope that more members of the public would join us in that effort. This Friday, I also have my next Middle Mile Advisory Committee that is carrying out the work or overseeing some of the work on the 10,000-mile broadband project. Originally, because construction costs have gone so high, the $3 billion was only going to fund 8,300 miles, but the governor has now publicly stated that come January in his new proposed budget that he will fully fund the other 1,700 miles so that the full 10,000 miles is carried out and not have a phase two where we'd have to wait for that work to get done. And lastly, next Wednesday, I'm having my Café con Luis, bringing those back to East Salinas. And we do have CAO De La Rosa kind of doing an introduction. We also have Elsa Jimenez coming to talk about the new behavioral health clinic on Sanborn that is almost completed. It's wrapping up the last stages of that construction. And then we're also having an update on the phase two, the construction happening now at the Salinas Regional Soccer Complex. So that's going to be at Leal Bakery in East Salinas on Bardin Road, and we welcome the public to that, I believe, at 5:30.
Mr. Chair, if I could jump in with one that I forgot. Adelante con Orgullo Mujer. We put in a resolution today acknowledging the work that organization has done, and this Saturday they will also be holding their conference, so we encourage folks to sign up if you're interested. They're open to anybody joining to learn about the challenges in our farm working community, specifically for women in ag, but they are going to be holding their resource conference this weekend. And so we want to encourage folks that will take place in Gonzales to participate. And we did pass a resolution in Spanish in honor of their event today from this board. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That concludes our comments. Let's go to readout of closed session by County Council.
No reportable action, Chair.
All right. Thank you very much. We had a short meeting today, no afternoon, so we will see you next week at 9 o'clock. Thank you. This meeting is adjourned.